viewers. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthias Aufiku, news editor of Namibian Sun newspaper. Let's have a look at today's headlines. Our guest tonight is no stranger to Namibian politics, Mr. Josef Kauandenge, the Secretary General of the NUDO Party and also a Member of Parliament. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the invite.
It's indeed a pleasure having you here. Yeah, there's been a lot happening in your party of late. You guys were locked out of your office at one point. Did you get your keys back?
That's politics for you. Yes, we did got our keys back. Unfortunately, people have different ways of solving problems. Some thought maybe to resort to closing an office, it will have an impact, but I don't think it did have an impact. It was closed for an hour or two, and then we managed to open it after 2 hours. So yeah.
Okay. I know during that period there was a concerned group who also handed over a petition to the leadership of the party, of which you are part of that leadership. Run us through this petition a bit and how you address some of those concerns in the petition.
Well, one will want to know whether there were really concerns in the first instance, or whether the said group were wanting to have a coup d'etat. That is one the first issue that comes to a person's mind. Because if you have genuine concern about your party and the image of the party, you cannot go to the extent of closing the office and demanding to see the leadership at the same time. So we did receive the petition, or that so-called petition. We read through what was demanded, but we came to a conclusion to say, let's call these guys and sit around the table and hear what they have to say. And that is what we did. But through the petition, it was very evident that the said group was really not there trying to solve issues within the party, but they were only there wanting to have a coup d'etat, to say the least, to force the leadership out of the party. But I think we managed to calm the situation down and say, colleagues, whatever the outcome might be, let's wait for our National Council meeting that should sit, and then we will sort whatever needs to be sorted there. Yes.
Well, as a party leader, if you are brushing off concerns of your members and labeling it as a coup d'etat, what does that say about future concerns from members who wish to raise issues with the leadership?
Well, first and foremost, where was this petition engineered from? You cannot tell me that we went to a Congress in 2019. Over 600 delegates came and voted this leadership into positions of power, of which you were actually, some of them also party to that. But you are addressing concerns to say you are passing a vote of no confidence in this leadership. That is the basic, the major issue that was in their petition. But then you ask yourself, what are the issues where you go to the extent of passing a vote of no confidence in this current leadership? No, there is mismanagement of finances. There is a deputy ministerial position, what. You ask them, now, who told you that there is mismanagement of finances in the party? Surely you should be at a platform, at a structure where the financial reports are being given. And only once you have that financial report and you peruse through it, then you can maybe jot down the issues or the concerns that you might have. But out of the blue, you are hallucinating that there are mismanagement of financial resources of the party. But if you have been taken to task to say, now show us where is your proof, you have none. So those were some of the issues that we look at and say, no man, but these people have a different agenda. It's not what they are portraying to the society outside there. Yes.
But what about the party's constitutional requirement that after a certain period after Congress, there should be a National Council meeting? It's 2 years now.
Well, it is a long story, because really to go to resolution number 10, when this leadership came into being, headed by our president, there was a resolution passed in that Congress that gave the top 9 leadership the mandate to run this party, provided that we will call the National Council when funds allow. In that resolution, there was no time frame as to say when this National Council should be called. A listener or anybody outside there that have been privy to the internal squabbles and internal problems of the party knows that when we took over in 2019, the party was in total disarray in terms of the 2 groups that went to the Congress, slates, and it was chaos in the party. So we thought to ourselves that 2019, we are about to go to the national elections, and the party has no resources in terms of money, funds, what have you. Where do we put our money? Do we take 200,000 and put in a single Congress, in a single meeting that must come? Or should we put this money to good use because we are having national elections and we took the party on empty coffers? So those were the considerations of the party leadership at the time. And we really were proven right because we used that money to campaign forcefully for the party throughout 2019, and we managed to retain our 2 seats in parliament. So the issue of the resolution that empowered this current leadership to be in position did not specify when the National Council should be called. It just only said when funds allow. And we use our discretion as the party leadership to say, no, funds does not allow now, we cannot call it.
But your members are saying the party gets party funding from parliament. Where do all these funds, what are these funds used for?
Well, party funds from government. Well, yes, the party does receive funds from government, but any election is a costly exercise.
But the funds were received after the elections in the new term of parliament.
You are correct. How much is the money then, if we have to do the math? If you are telling me the party is receiving quarterly, after every 3 months, 633,000. And from that 633,000 that the party received, 250 or so, it's earmarked for staff payments, what have you, operation and what have you. Where does that money leave you? You can hardly do anything with that amount of money in terms of running the party affairs, and actually also halting the National Council. So we use our discretion as the party leadership to say, no, at this point in time, we cannot call the National Council meeting. We must rather use that money to campaign forcefully throughout the country for the 2019 elections.
So are you then saying because there was no, in Resolution 10, there was no deadline stipulated, that this matter will just drag on like that? Or do we expect the National Council to
No. We have, this year, in early January, we have put a definite date now for the National Council. We are going to the National Council on the 24th of April, which is next month. We will call the National Council because now we have the money to do so.
Yes. Very interesting.
Yes.
Let's move on to another topic. I think a very interesting topic, which is the city of Windhoek. You are part of a coalition in the city. When this coalition was announced, the coalition members promised that we'll soon sign an agreement which will oversee and guide us how we interact in this coalition. Where is that process?
Politicians, when they are coming together, they are the very most difficult people to work with. Any person that have worked with politicians will attest to that we are not the easiest persons to work with, because in any coalition there are vested interests as well. We came to a coalition as parties to try to get the city moving. Unfortunately, there are teething problems that I cannot really elaborate here. At this
Give us an example.
For instance, there are people among the coalition that might think they are bigger than the rest in terms of size, in terms of what they are bringing onto the table. But my contention has always been that in a coalition, even NUDO with our 1 seat, in that coalition, we are equal to anybody in that coalition. Because the moment when we walk out, the coalition collapses.
Yeah.
So what we are currently doing is that at least among the principals, those that are leaders of these various political parties or association, we have come to realize that we need each other more, and so that we must come together and actually get this memorandum of understanding signed and going. So that realization has kicked in. But you must also take into account that we are coming from different factions, different ideologies and different principles. So you won't expect that it should be plain sailing as well. Yes.
Yeah.
But we are moving into that direction that we should sit soon in order to finalize all these outstanding issues.
Yeah. When you say there are certain groupings or parties that feel that they are bigger than the rest, in which sense are you saying that? Is it in the sense of decision making, or I should get the biggest slice of the cake, or what are you referring to?
There are some that think they should get the biggest slice of the cake. There are some that believe that because numerically they are more than the others, others should just listen and and take whatever is offered on the table.
Is that a fair request or not?
It is not.
Why?
It is not a fair request because, as I have said, the purpose of any coalition is you bring all these things in one pot, whatever. So if the coalition have to stand the test of time, surely we have to leave whoever is having more numbers or less numbers at the door. When we enter into that coalition, we should treat one another equally, for the simple reason, and I have alluded to, that if one party with one vote walk out, then the coalition obviously collapse.
Yeah.
So you with your 5 or 2 seats minus this one cannot do anything. So, and this is what I am impressed, or I have impressed among the principals, to say, when we enter any coalition or any discussion, it must be a give and take, and it must be consensus to say, okay, maybe you can take this one, I will take this one, in the interest of the city and the coalition. Yes.
Okay. We've in the past heard of, especially on the City of Windhoek Council, of councillors basically giving orders and directives to management on how things should be done, instead of allowing the management, of course the executives, to run the affairs of the city. You are no stranger to that council. You've been there, you have experience. How is it different this time around? We hear of progressive forces and so on. How is it different this time around?
Well, the question is, who is elected? Is it the management or is it the councillors? The person that is elected by the people to run the affairs of the city of Windhoek are the councillors. Now, unfortunately, in the setup of the city of Windhoek, wherever they got it from, the past dispensation, whatever, the management are the ones that are dictating the agenda of council. And it should not be the case. It should be the councillors to dictate what the people down there need and what must be done, and for the management team to operationalize it or put it into practice. But it's not, since I left, it was not the case.
Yeah.
So with the new progressive forces, this is what we are trying to rectify. To say, yes, we need management to implement council decisions, but councillors, when they sit at council, should spearhead those decisions and bring them to the management for management to be able to implement. Because after 5 years, it will be them that will be asked by the public that we gave you a mandate for 5 years, what did you deliver? And this is where we are trying to rectify the city of Windhoek setup as it was, so that councillors now take the lead in terms of dictating the agenda of council going forward.
Well, fair enough from a political perspective, but one could also argue that the reason why the executives are appointed is because they have a special skill set.
And we are not denying that. We are not dismissing that. But we are saying, you with your expertise and the degrees that you have accumulated at whatever university, fine and good. But this is the agenda.
So if I tell you that, Honorable Kauandenge, you want 100 houses in Khomasdal, but as an executive, I'm telling you that it's not possible because of A and B, would you compromise?
We have to reach a compromise. But the good thing with the current councillors, because unfortunately there was this perception among the officials in the past that councillors are people without qualifications or education. Luckily enough, in this new dispensation among the progressive forces, we have councillors that are doctors, that are engineers, that are lawyers, that are whatever. So at least, if you tell me that this is not doable, you must convince me convincingly to say, why are you saying that? Because I'm not empty-handed as a councillor. So, and this is where we are right now. So when management comes and talk to this councillor, they talk now with more respect, to say the least, because now they know that I cannot sell a dream, an empty vessel to these councillors, because they know their part and they are also educated like me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing is the mushrooming of informal settlements. I think since independence, we are at staggering levels as far as informal settlements are concerned in the capital city. How is that featuring on your agenda so far?
Well, to start off, who created these mushrooming informal settlements?
Well, but you are there now.
Who aided it?
You are there now.
You have first to go back to analyze a situation and a disease before you find a cure. The disease was created by the Swapo-led government because the Swapo Party must take blame for having neglected local authority for too long. And this is where I went into Parliament and put a motion in Parliament to say it's high time that we must revisit the condition of local authority throughout this country. Because central government continues through this act that is there, the Local Authority Act, to pump minimum resources into local authority for all local authority to be able to provide those basic necessities that is needed for our citizens. Now, with the progressive forces now in power, you cannot tell me that progressive forces can rectify a problem of 30 years in 2 or 5 years. No.
But I can tell you that progressive forces, you are put there because we feel you can rectify this.
No, we will try. We will try. We will achieve certain milestone, make no mistake. But at the same time, we cannot over-promise and under-deliver. Yes. But we are busy addressing that issue, but we must be realistic that those that have been there 30 years, if they could not address it satisfactorily, we might address maybe 1 fraction or 1% or 2%, but the will, the political will is there to do so.
Yeah. And there's been concerns, especially after last year's regional and local government elections, there's been concerns about the relationship that will exist between central government and the local authorities.
Yes.
Yeah, there seems to be a disconnect, maybe expected, but how do we manage that process? Because clearly all of you are serving the same constituency, which is Namibia. So how do we go about it?
Well, that disconnection is there. And you can see it with Karas, for instance, what is happening in Karas, where some of our Swapo colleagues, councillors, refuse to actually join the management of the Karas Regional Council. But that problem must be addressed, not only because of the progressive forces or coalitions in local authority governments, but also in the future. Because you cannot have a minister of urban and rural development being empowered and be given so much power to do whatever hell he wants to do with local authorities, and at the same time, those that are elected to run local authority, the councillors, are left at the periphery or at the behest of the minister. This is where the problem is. Now, with the introduction of this coalition, it becomes even worse. Because on one hand, you have central government that are sitting on the resources of the state that should give those resources to local authorities under the management of opposition parties to deliver services. But some, not all of them, in central government and in the ministry does not want to do so for fear that the credit will come to the opposition comes the next election. So, and this is where we are having a dichotomy, a conundrum actually, of the biggest problems that we can find in local authorities.
Yes. You mentioned that, I think the director of the ECC, Mr. Noah, calls it one-man laws. They were the ones which gives the minister far-reaching powers to do what they do. Since you came into Parliament 2019, you've tabled certain motions. Why is there not one of your motions challenging this law? If it's still problematic?
No, it is now with the motion that I have put in Parliament that should be debated, I think maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I specifically talked about the Local Authority Act of 1992, that it have outlived its usefulness. It's useless, to say the least. That it must be amended, and the powers that are vested within the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development should be minimized. That motion is on the floor of Parliament as we speak. It's just a question, because now we are debating the budget these days, that maybe it is a little bit postponed, but it is on the altar paper of Parliament, and precisely that is what I said in my motion.
Yeah. Do you see it going anywhere?
Well, with Swapo 2/3 majority in the Parliament, one does not know. But at least
Is it really 2/3?
Well, and this is where people are misconstruing everything. They think that by virtue of my president being the deputy minister.
Why are you preempting the subject?
No. Because I know that is the general understanding. Because she is a deputy minister, anything that is been voted in at the floor of Parliament, she will vote with the Swapo Party.
Can you categorically deny that?
I will deny that, because I have so much confidence in my president. But what people don't understand actually is that Swapo does not, for any formal bill that can be passed through Parliament, Swapo does not need my president vote, because they have 63 votes.
Yeah.
I mean 63 seats in Parliament. So any bill or any law on that Parliament floor can be passed by simple majority. So Swapo's MPs can be 49 in that house, and they can pass whatever bill that they want. So they will not need my party president vote.
Yeah.
The only time when they will need an extra vote to make it 64 is when they want to amend the Namibian constitution. And I have full confidence in my party president that when that time comes, we will consult as a party, and we will take a decision to say, is it in the best interest of the Namibian people to amend or not to amend?
But your party members are already saying you didn't even consult them about the appointment of your president.
Well, where in the constitution of NUDO does it prohibit the party president to take a position, a government position for that matter?
So why should you now then consult to vote or not to vote against?
No, let me put it like this. NUDO is a political party in this country. Now, Namibians sometimes are being hypocritical, to say the least. On one hand, it is the same opposition that have been calling the Namibian government for too long that they are only appointing members from the Swapo Party. That we have brains in this country. We have brains among the opposition that can become ministers. But when the President of the Republic says, okay, this criticism have been coming for too long now, let me take someone from the opposition and make this person a deputy minister. It's the same Namibian society, crazy as they are, that are saying, now she's bought by Swapo. How can a woman that is a doctor, that is qualified enough, be bought with a seat? It is actually insulting her intelligence, to say the least.
Yeah.
Because I'm saying, if this is happening in other countries like South Africa, for instance, where is Delil, minister in the presidency? And it started with, what is my president, Nelson Mandela, Magosutu Buthelezi, and the list, and the list, and the list. Now, when my president has been paid, month end, whose money pay her? It's a state money. Now, if you have a teacher who is a member of NUDO, and he's working as a teacher or as a nurse, where do they get the money from? From the same state, from the same coffers. So now, if she is bought by the Swapo Party because of this position, then all of us are bought as Namibians. So that argument for me, as far as I'm concerned, does not hold water.
Yeah.
Because even now, if you see NUDO performance in Parliament, we are critical on any issues that come on the floor of Parliament. In fact, we are among the 3 or 4 parties that constantly attack the Swapo-led government on issues that we don't agree with them. And when I do so in Parliament, I don't look back and say, let me mind my words, because my president is a deputy minister, maybe she will not like this or whatever.
Yeah.
I stood up and I say my piece without any regard to what Swapo members will say or think about my statement, because we are there to represent the interests and the aspiration of the NUDO members and Namibian people at large.
Yeah.
So that does not hold water.
Let's move on to the National Assembly affairs.
Yes.
There's been talks recent weeks. Some are saying there's an element of hooliganism in Parliament, the insults and everything, that you guys are not being exemplary to the young ones who look up to lawmakers and so on. What do you make of the current state of Parliament?
Well, it's a very difficult issue to tackle because on both ends I have friends. But honestly speaking, when we debate in Parliament, I'm from the school of thought that says you must debate with dignity, mutual respect. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter whether a person does not agree or agree with your statements. But the moment when you stand up and articulate the issues rather than the personalities, that person will listen to you.
Yeah.
It depends on whether he will listen and take that advice and work on it or not. But the mere fact that when you stand up and address the issues and leave personalities and insult aside, that person will listen to you. So from the background that I'm coming from as a politician, from the doctrine of the Martin Luther King's, and the Stephen Bantu Bikos, the Robert Sobukwes, and those are the doctrines where I'm coming from that have indoctrinated me to become a politician. I will tell you to your face what I think about you, but I will never insult you. Yeah. So what is happening currently in our National Assembly, it's a matter of concern, because our wives and kids are watching whenever we are debating in that Parliament. Now, you cannot teach your kids at home to respect anybody, but they are sitting there and you are going on like a hooligan in Parliament. When you come home, they will say, but Daddy, what did you teach us? Yeah. Now, what do you say? So, I think it's high time that the Parliament, the Speaker in that Parliament, get that house in order, really. Because at times, it is degenerating into chaos. And I'm not saying from which side it is coming from, because as much as people think it is coming from the opposition side, it is actually also coming from the ruling party side. Because sometimes the opposition are very quiet here and there is nothing happening here, but someone from the ruling party, a minister or whoever, stand up and make a very nasty comment, out of context to say the least. And then you see those that have also mouth to talk, say, and then it degenerates. So, but it's really something that needs to be addressed. It's not good for our image. We cannot be the Malemas of South Africa, because these two countries, the dynamics of our people and the way we think and do things, it's different. Because hardly in Namibia will you find a person being burned alive. And this we are witnessing in South Africa. You are being taken there, you rape somebody, they put a tire in you, they put you virtually on fire, and they stand and watch while you are burning. This does not happen in Namibia because it's not in our DNA. So we cannot copy things that are not in our DNA and bring it into the Namibian context.
Okay. Yeah, let's move on to our last topic. I know you said earlier on that when you speak, you don't speak thinking in hindsight of your president's position in government. Your objective view, what is your take on the way government is handling the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, to be honest, for me, I'm very much disappointed in the President of the Republic of Namibia. For one, if the President wanted Namibians to be confident to take the vaccine, why was he not the first to do so? That's one. Because leaders as leaders will need to lead by example. Overall, the whole pictures of how they handled the Namibian government, how they handled the COVID pandemic, I have praise for that, really. With limited resources and budgetary allocation, and the country being on recess, and the money that we don't have, since we started this pandemic last year, the Namibian government, for me, looking from a distance, I think they have done really relatively very well compared to other countries in the continent. But the only setback for me was when the vaccine came into this country, and the President of the Republic did not deem it fit to say, let me be the first to get the injection, so that my people actually also can see that if I have to go get it, then it's safe.
Yeah.
And that is why we are seeing, currently we are at 881. I mean, for God's sake, how many are we in this country? People are very skeptical to take that vaccine, really. So I think the leadership should have come from above to down here, and we could have seen a different picture.
Well, we understand it's an age matter why he couldn't get the vaccine.
Well, age matters. If age is a problem, what about his the First Lady of the Republic? Why could he not accompany her and let her get the injection for the benefit of the Namibian people? What about his kids? They are underage. They are falling under that category. Because as leaders, sometimes we have to take the initiative to be seen to allay fears among our people. And this is where the President of the Republic, including the minister himself, I'm happy that my president, as a deputy minister, went and took the vaccine. Yes. But what about her superior up the ladder? Why are they scary to take the vaccine if they are promising Namibians that the vaccine is safe?
Yeah.
Yes.
You are a leader. Did you get your vaccine yet?
Me?
Yes.
No, apparently, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not among the most vulnerable groups, the classifications that they say. So, but for me, seriously, even if they say tomorrow you must go get that vaccine, I will do so.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
So, no problem.
Yeah.
Because as leaders, we have to lead by example. I'm happy with our president and the neighbor, Ramaphosa, for having at least taken that initiative. Another world leader, for that matter. And this is what Namibians are needing. If the president is hearing me, Mr. President, this nation needs you to take and lead by example.
Yeah.
Because this number, we will still have that number come the Easter weekends because people are worried to go and take that vaccine.
Yeah. Mr. Kauandenge, thank you very much for coming through. It was indeed a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.